you remember I had that beer fest glass which was advertising a business which no longer exists and didn't pay us on time, so
okay.
I'm just a plain Jane
Well,
pint glass.
welcome back to everyone to another episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong. This is a podcast where two exes who are still really good friends talk about lots of different topics, including love, life, depression, health, you name it. We talk about it. The Minogues, the Gagas. That's Josh over there, and I'm Sean. And how are you doing, Josh?
Hi Sean, I'm okay. I'm good. You forgot to mention pint glasses and water bottles in the list of never-ending topics that we seem to encompass on this podcast. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm happy with the sunshine. We talk a lot about the weather and how it affects our moods on this podcast.
Well, everyone in the UK seems to live vicariously through the whims of the weather, I think, you know.
But everyone everywhere does. I mean, it's just the most obvious thing to talk about, isn't it, when you're a human?
But I feel like in this country, we have our weather is so changeable. So here we are, 5 minutes in, and we're just talking about weather, but it's so changeable and it's so inconsistent in this country. You know, in some parts of the world, you know you're going to get a cold winter, you're going to get a hot summer, you know, it's a given. Whereas here, it's just so changeable.
But it's so funny how people respond to the sun here in a way that you don't get in a lot of other places. I just went for a quick walk before across the park, and I live in an area where there are a lot of offices around, and this little park is just rammed full of people on their lunch break, all sitting down, having picnics on the grass. Every spare bit of grass is taken up because it's 21 degrees, is it?
I think it's like 23 or 24. It's warm.
It's 23. It's 23 today.
Unseasonably warm.
But I also spoke to my sister Michelle earlier.
Oh, how's she?
And yeah, she's good, but she might hear this. She watches the pod. She's one of the 17 people that watches the pod.
And she comments as well.
Yeah. And when I explained to her, oh, yeah, it's lovely, it's 23 degrees, she reminded me that in Brisbane, people would think that was not a cold day, but a cooler day.
That wouldn't be a warm day, no.
No, people might even have sweaters on or
we also have to be mindful of that person that commented on, is it 2 episodes ago? And they said, I can't remember exactly what the comment said, but it was something about the first section of us talking about the weather or Brisbane or something was very boring. So thank you for
our old accommodation.
Oh yeah, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your comment.
We will not be taking it on board. We will continue to talk about weather and where we used to live.
We're going to talk about weather for the next 60 minutes. So,
well, I'm going to visit Australia in December for a vacation. And for anyone new to the pod, Brisbane is a city in Australia where I was born and grew up. Spent the first, I don't know if I ever really grew up, but it's where I spent the first part of my life. And I'm getting very excited about doing outdoor type activities, like going to the beach and going swimming.
Will you be able to, though? It's going to be so hot.
Oh, of course I'll go. Like, I can go swimming earlier in the morning. So this is something I used to do when I used to live in Australia. You go to the beach or go to the swimming pool around 8 a.m. before, even earlier sometimes, if the water's still warm, it's lovely temperature, but yeah, you're not going swimming in the daylight. The midday sun, which is too intense.
I mean, in Australian summer, by about 9:30, 10 a.m., the sun is ferocious. Yeah.
Well, I'm interested in going, like, if you're unfamiliar with the geography of Brisbane, there are 2 coastal regions, one to the north and one to the south of Brisbane. And the one to the north is called the Sunshine Coast, and the one to the south is called the Gold Coast. People are probably more familiar with the Gold Coast. It's where a region called Surfers Paradise is. But when you live in Brisbane, colloquially, you will refer to them as either up the coast or down the coast. So I'm interested in going down the coast, of course, to visit our friend Amy, who lives down the coast. But I grew up, when I was young, I spent a lot of time up the coast on the Sunshine Coast around Caloundra, Maroochydore, Mooloolaba, Noosa.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested in going up there. I think there are quite good transport links now. There are trains that go up there and then local buses. And I
Okay.
think I'm going to go up for a day or two and sort of
Gonna go up the coast, Mayday.
up the coast and have a, I don't know what's to eat up there, like vegan wise, but
There
um,
used to be that guy in the market that did the tempeh. He did fresh tempeh that he made on the Sunshine Coast somewhere.
at the Yumundi market.
Yeah, your Monday markets. I've got.
It,
You never watched Breaking Bad, did you?
no.
Because there's a huge fly. I was just talking to you before we hit record. There's this humongous fly in my room at the moment, and it's been here all morning. I went out, I left the window open, I came back a couple of hours later, it's still in there. And just as we were setting up to record, I was trying to shoo it out of the open window to no success, and it's slowly driving me mad. I mean, now that I've got the headphones on, it's not too bad, but I'm really worried if it comes anywhere close to the microphone, it's just going to be like bzz, bzz, bzz. And
Well, I couldn't hear it when I first got online and joined the call. You weren't in the screen, but
mm,
your camera and microphone were on, and all I could hear was you yelling, get out, shoot, get out." And I was trying to imagine what scenario could be going on. I thought
right,
maybe there was, I don't know. I knew that you wouldn't speak to a dog like that, but
right.
I couldn't. And
But to a human,
well,
I would.
it could have been your mom, or I wasn't sure
I
who
wouldn't speak
you were
to her
yelling
like
at
that.
to get out. So now that I know that it was a fly.
Well, anyway, it's still there. So if it does drop in,
So when are
um,
you going to visit Australia again for
well, I don't
sunshine
know.
and
I was thinking last week because just on the weekend, Sean and I and Hill and a friend of mine, Lex, we went to an exhibition by a Mexican painter called Velasco, and it made me really nostalgic for Mexico City or the Valley of Mexico. And
Mhm.
even though the paintings were done, centuries ago, but just the geography of it and seeing that and seeing the
Is it centuries or is it a century ago?
no, I mean it was what 18 something 18. All right, nearly 2 centuries ago. So 18 early to mid 1800s, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know. Something like that.
And yeah, and just seeing, he really had a beautiful way of portraying the flora as well. And just seeing that made me very nostalgic for Mexico. So, anyway, at the end of this year, I've got a sort of break between contracts at work. And, well, actually, that's not true. That's wishful thinking. I've got a contract that ends at the end of November. And I'm hoping that it will be picked up again in January. So, I've got December off, or actually, probably December and the first half of January.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking I should go away, and I want to go. Obviously, I want to go somewhere a bit warmer than Northern Europe. So I was maybe thinking of going to Australia, but then seeing the Velasco exhibition, it made me really want to go back to Mexico. So I don't know. I can't. I don't think I can do both. I mean, I can't really afford to do either. But.
Well, you could go to, as a cheaper holiday, you could go and do what I did last winter and go to Gran Canaria or Lanzarote.
Yeah, but this is the whole dilemma I found myself in at the beginning of this year. That although it's closer, obviously it's only about 2.5 or 3 hours flight to the Canary Islands. It's sorry, the fly just came dangerously close. Um, it's it's quite expensive once you're there. Like the accommodation is not cheap. Um, and also it's going to be warmer than London, but it's definitely not guaranteed to be warm.
Oh, well,
So
it'll be more than 20 degrees though.
yeah, probably,
But are you
probably.
looking for somewhere a lot hotter, like 30?
Yeah, ideally. And I thought if I went to Mexico City, I could also go for a week down to maybe Yucatan or something like that. I don't know.
I
Um,
I wouldn't feel completely safe. I don't like to stoke the fires of hysteria around Mexico,
hmm.
but I don't feel completely safe about traveling to some parts of Mexico right now.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that's
it,
that's always been the case though, hasn't it?
yeah, but there, I don't know. It's when I hear people from Mexico start to say things about certain parts of Mexico when they haven't in the past, it makes me a little bit
Yeah.
more
Well,
cautious.
yeah, you've always got to be really mindful about, what the current status is in different parts. But I wouldn't go to a part that is known to be dangerous at the moment. So I would
Yeah.
have to do my research, do my live research.
I mean, I'm not one for talking like that about Mexico, but and I think eventually I'll probably end up living there when I retire or when I semi-retire, because as newbies to the pod might not know, is that my partner is Mexican, and he's much more connected to his family than I am to mine. No disrespect to Michelle, who we just mentioned might be listening, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's no secret in our family that we're quite fractured. And so I think,
Does your
it's.
other sister, or your other sister that you're still in contact with, does she ever watch the pod?
She did at the beginning, but I don't know if she has recently.
Well, let us know if you're watching.
And I'm going to try and see her when I visit Brisbane in December.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had to make the choice whether to go to Mexico or Brisbane this year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and because I couldn't afford to do both, and I didn't have enough annual leave. You had to go to Australia. It's a big undertaking. You
Oh
don't go
yeah,
for a week.
no, you don't want to go for anything less than 2 weeks
Yeah,
minimum.
so
I mean,
I'm
even
going for
that's.
three weeks, and I'm the first part of that will be spent being jet lagged.
Mm-hmm.
But the to seal the deal, what made me decide between Mexico and Australia was
I
I now
know.
have a ticket to see Lady Gaga in Brisbane. So
Mm-hmm. And
very
I'm so. Wait, hang on. Is the Brisbane show outside or inside?
outside. It's at that Suncorp Stadium near Milton.
See, this is, and I've said this on the podcast before. Like the Gaga show that we're going to see in Paris is indoors, and I really would love to have seen her in an outdoor stadium, but she wasn't doing any stadiums in her European tour. So now I've got FOMO.
Well, homo FOMO, it's the worst. And
Um,
so, I mean, we've talked enough. We've bored that poor person enough about weather and travel.
we've still got another 50 minutes to talk about Brisbane, memories of Brisbane.
Oh my! Do you know
Oh,
I'm
did you see the
really
fly? The fly just flew right in front of my face.
careful it
I'm go.
doesn't fly in your mouth.
Oh my god. I'll do like a. I don't know if I can do that on the software we use. I'll try and do like a slow mo recap. I'll do a. You can do your CPAP recap, and I'll do my slow mo fly. It's getting really emboldened. It's coming closer and closer.
What are you going to do about it?
I don't know. I have to stop talking. I'll talk
Well,
with my mouth closed.
I, going to Australia for 3 weeks, I think I'm going for. It's a strange sensation for me, but I'm going to use it
Did you see it?
also.
It just flew in. It just flew into shot there. It's behind me
I'm
now.
really not paying attention to this fly. I'm not as invested as you are in
Oh,
this fly
sorry.
situation. Also, Josh is a vegan, so he's not going to kill the fly. For anyone
No.
thinking, why don't you just kill the fly?
Yeah.
Um, I had a bit of a tumultuous childhood, to say the least, growing
Hmm.
up, and I've only been back to Brisbane twice in the last 15 years. Isn't that wild to think that I've only been there twice, once for 2 weeks and once for 3 weeks
Mm.
in the last 15 years? So for me, there's a lot of unprocessed feelings and emotions and trauma about growing up there and the life that I led. And so I want to use the opportunity to visit on my own. I mean, I wish
Mm.
Hill was coming, but I'm happy to be going on my own to be able to process some of the complex feelings that I have about the place and the people.
That makes
So
sense. Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
nice
And
to.
you and Hill will be there soon enough when when the visas come through.
Yeah, well, talking
Hopefully.
of visas and how long things take to happen and politicians who do things on a whim, how outrageous is Keir Starmer and what he has been saying this week?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really really upsetting and disappointing. So for viewers outside the UK who maybe aren't abreast of the political situation, that we have here. Labour are in power after years and years, well, not decades, but a long, long time of Tory rule. The Labour Party won the general election last year, was it? Yeah, it was last July, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And Keir Starmer is the leader and therefore the Prime Minister. And he's generally considered quite a sort of centrist in terms of where his politics are. He's left wing, but not extreme at all. He's fairly central. Um, but recently, only a few weeks ago now, there were local elections in lots of parts of the UK, and the Reform Party won a lot of seats, a lot of not so much member seats, like members of parliament seats. I mean, although they do have a few, but more just in terms of like local councillors. A lot of councils are now majority run. What's the word I'm looking for? Like in a majority capacity.
Majority run,
Majority run, yeah,
majority governed.
yeah, by Reform. And
Yeah,
Reform is the party headed by Nigel Farage, who, of course, was the Brexiteer and the instigator of Brexit, and
horrible,
is just
horrible person.
generally just a despicable person. I have more love for this fly in my room than I do for Nigel Farage,
Oh,
and
the fly's done nothing wrong.
well, except anyway, let's not go there. But because of this, because Reform are tapping into so many disillusioned people, particularly, I believe, young white men who feel threatened in terms of their masculinity, in terms of their status as British. You know, they feel threatened by immigration. Um, they Reform have really tapped into that in a really big way. I mean, it's not just Reform. You know, people like Andrew Tate tap into that in a really big way as well. You know, Andrew Tate just play on the insecurities of young men, and Nigel Farage and the Reform Party do exactly the same. They tap, maybe not exclusively, but certainly a large number of Reform supporters and voters are young white men. Um, and because of that, Labour seem to have thought that their policy or their strategy would now be to lurch to the right. And well, anyway, I've talked for long enough, Sean. Why don't you explain
Well,
what Keir Starmer said the other day?
well, he came out. It's seemingly out of the blue, don't you think?
Oh
That
yeah.
this,
Well, not out of the blue. Obviously it's a knee jerk response to the Reform wins in the local
but out of the
elections.
blue, in regards to, it's very different to what his take on immigration was a year ago.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he said that he used a lot of dog whistle kind of terminology, like we're going to take back control,
Mm-hmm.
and that there is
Mm-hmm.
a if you move to the UK, you need to integrate and you need to learn to speak English. And it was more than just problematic; it was offensive,
Mm-hmm.
but it was designed to appeal, or what he thinks will appeal to people who are voting for the Reform Party.
Mm-hmm.
There's no so this it's bad on a lot of levels. It's bad
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
racist, but it's
yeah.
bad because it's disingenuous and it doesn't feel authentic.
It's so transparent, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is it's just shows you how desperately these people want to stay in power. It's not about doing the right thing. It's not about protecting people. It's not about doing what's best for the community or the planet. It's about holding on to power. And they think that if they say some of the terminology or use some of the slogans of a party that was just mildly successful in local elections, that they'll get some of that success to rub up on them. And it is desperate, but it's potentially harmful to people
Oh yeah,
looking to come to live in the
yeah.
UK safely.
It emboldens the racism and the fires of discrimination that already are being fired up by Reform, and it just adds to that.
Yeah,
It's insulting as well. It's like you said, yeah, disingenuous. It's so far removed from where Labour have been in the past, and it's really symptomatic of a much larger problem, and that's just I'm not advocating for an autocracy or anything like that, but I think that democracy in its current form is very flawed, and instead of long-term beneficial policy, we just seem to be lurching from one short-term, meaningless, empty promise to another in politics, and that's coming from both sides of the political
Yeah.
spectrum.
Yeah.
And there seems to be no long-term political leadership, which is sort of steering us either in terms of our immediate local communities or national or international communities towards a better place. And we always seem to end up talking about that. But
does this shock you? This YouGov survey from last year says a quarter of all Britons, so 24%, say they would consider voting for Reform UK at a future election. So 24%. That seems particularly high to me.
When was it done?
Last year.
Do you know what time last year?
No. And it says this includes 33% of those who voted for the Conservatives at last year's general election. So this must be... oh no, this is January 2025, this report.
Oh, okay.
So
it includes, sorry, what's the statistic about former Tory voters?
33% who voted for the Conservatives at last year's general election said they would possibly vote for reform.
Yeah. I was going to say, like,
and 9% who voted Labour, and 8% who voted Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, reform could well be. I choke saying the words, but reform could well be the main opposition party.
Well, have you seen how? Do you know Zach Polanski?
Yeah, the Greens guy.
Yeah, so he is the deputy leader of the Greens Party for the UK.
Mm-hmm.
He has made a leadership bid for the Greens Party.
Yeah.
And he's trying to become the leader. And part of this is in, I suppose, protest or resistance to the Labour Party becoming more right-wing.
Yeah.
And he and other people in the Green Party believe that there is a progressive alternative to the Conservative or to Reform, that Labour is not a progressive alternative. And that yeah, what was that?
I was going to say our electoral system is so broken in this country as well. We don't have proportional representation. So it's, I've always only voted Labour or Greens, but you have to be really strategic. Well, you don't have to be, but I've always felt the pressure to vote strategically in this country. It's not like Australia where you can, put your preferences and they have proportional representation. So you can really vote with your heart, knowing that your vote will count towards something. Yeah. Whereas in this country, if I vote for Greens, I don't want to say it's a wasted vote because that's such an awful, awful terminology to use, but it really does feel just like that, like a wasted vote.
Well, sometimes it's not even wasted. It can sometimes work against progressive policies getting forward, because
that's it. You split the vote. Yeah.
If Labour has a candidate in a certain area who is slightly progressive, and they lose because a lot of people vote for the Greens candidate in the same area,
and then you end up with Reform in fucking power.
Yeah, Reform or Conservatives in power.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, it's kind of either you vote for the less of two evils, or, you throw your vote of...
Yeah, but with this new, fucking lurch to the right by Starmer, it makes me pretty resolute not to want to, even strategically vote for Labour, or do it, how the French do it, how they put a peg on their nose when they go to vote, because they have a really strange, they have a very different voting system in France where there are several rounds and then you end up having to vote for a party, and they narrow down every time they have a round, someone's eliminated or multiple parties are eliminated until they get to two, I think, and then you have to vote. And people feel that, when they have to vote for somebody who they think stinks, like they hate their politics, but they know that they have to be strategic, they'll go to the polls and they'll put a peg on their nose as if to like I say, I know you smell like shit, but I'm still going to vote for you because I know,
Sounds bizarrely performative thing to do.
I love it. I love the drama of it, the theatrics
So
of
weird.
it.
But
So
yeah, but I mean, what's the option here in the UK? Could we get the Greens up to be the second legitimate party? I mean, I don't feel like enough Labour parties would defect, and it would just end up splitting the
well,
left.
well, now they may. I mean, they given Starmer's latest bullshit, I think they might. But what's his name?
Zach Polanski.
Zach Polanski. His argument or his sort of thesis, I suppose, is that the Greens have not responded appropriately to the rise of populism. Like, the rise of populism is why reform are doing so well and why people like Dump are in power. It's populism. And so Zach is saying that the Greens need to harness that. Like, whether they like it or not, that seems to be the way the political playing field is going. And
Yeah.
unless they harness that, they're going to lose even more sway or more votes. So I think that's what his manifesto is going to be. That's very driven by populism. So we'll see. We'll see what
And
happens.
what does like a progressive form of populism look like?
I don't know. I mean, I despair at people's inability to think critically in the face of populism, and not to see behind the empty promises and the false lies that are told by full. I know that's a double. What's it called? False lies. False promises
Yeah.
that are given by populist leaders.
So
So
if I read this, progressive populism is a political ideology that combines populist rhetoric. So what would that be? Like things like saying for the people and
yeah, just like bold,
um
like really oversimplified tagline politics.
and so
Yeah.
combining that sort of language and rhetoric and themes, but with left-wing progressive policies and values.
Mm.
So the populism that we see around the world currently in the UK and in the US is and Australia to a degree is often rooted in racism and nationalism and jingoism, and it's it works to exclude people through things like racist language, using
Mm.
sort of everyday person language or rhetoric.
Mm.
So a progressive or more left-leaning version of that would be to use the same sort of language and tactics, but to
Mm.
do it to be more inclusive of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I
I
don't know.
mean,
I just think, no, I was going to say at best Starmer's speech was misguided, but no, that's
no,
being too
yeah,
charitable. I think, especially when he said, um, he said the lab. He likened the UK's immigration policy historically to a lab, like a laboratory.
yeah,
And he said, we're shutting down the lab. And I think that was right at the beginning of the speech. And I mean, I don't know if I'm overanalyzing this or reading too much into it, but I actually don't think I am. But when
no,
you think of labs, what do you think of in labs? You think of animals,
yeah,
right? And
mm-hmm.
it completely dehumanizes immigrants, and especially immigrants of color, which is, I mean, let's be honest, that's what most people who are voting for reform are voting against. It's immigrants
Yeah,
of color. They don't care so much, or they probably care a little bit about white people coming to the UK, but
yeah,
they don't want black and brown people coming to the UK. That's essentially what it is.
yeah. The
Um,
see, Keir Starmer might be an asshole and he might be a prick, but he's not an idiot.
no.
And the people around him are educated people.
Mm-hmm.
They're cruel and opportunistic, but they're not stupid. And
Mm.
they know that the language they were using was precise language to
Oh yeah,
allude to
yeah. It
these
was no
things. It was
accident.
no. And so to talk about take back control or,
Mm.
the lab, this is language that is evocative for a reason. And they're trading on racist tropes to try and get populist support. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's
absolutely fucking outrageous.
and that's the thing that I find most galling about it, is that, yeah, like I don't have any regard for Nigel Farage. I just think he's a horrible, horrible attention-seeking piece of shit. Whereas, I did think Keir Starmer, although he's not particularly, he doesn't hold a huge amount of appeal for me. I did think at least he seems to have fairly okay politics, and I think he probably still does, and I think whether he has decided himself or he's given into pressure from his advisors or from other
Yeah.
people in the party, he's completely trading now in racist rhetoric, and I I can't see how I'm ever going to vote for Labour with him as Prime Minister now, which leaves me in lots of other people in this country in this really awful position of what the fuck do I do with my vote,
But
If I
also, the Labour leadership is also being, at best, wishy-washy, at worst, hostile towards trans people.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's another reason. Like, what are they doing that is progressive? What are they doing? Are they fighting for environmental rights enough? No. Are they fighting for the queer community enough? No. Are they fighting for immigrants and migrants and refugees? No. Are they fighting for hospitals enough? No. They're trying to fucking privatize that. Like, what are they doing that is progressive and we should vote for them or support
Yeah.
them? Nothing.
Yeah, I know. It's
They can
and
all get
what do you
no.
do? And what do you do? Do you not vote for your Labour candidate, and risk reform? I mean, the Conservatives, I don't know if the Conservatives are going to still be here in 5 years' time. I mean, they just seem to be imploding all the time. But,
Yeah.
if Reform becomes the lead opposition party, you don't
Yeah.
vote for Labour. You're giving a vote to Reform, possibly, which is a fucking terrifying prospect.
Yeah.
And it, yeah, I don't
Do you
know.
think do you think many Labour MPs will defect and go green?
That would be amazing.
I don't think they'd get enough to sort of make them the
And because of the unfair electoral system in this country, going green is almost like just resigning, because the Green Party has such a tiny fraction of votes in this country, because people vote strategically.
well,
So
I think that's why Zach he's thinking like, what's that terminology? Like shit or get off the pot. Like he's like, look, we're either going to go all in with this or what's the point? Like
oh,
we need
yeah,
to be a real
yeah,
alternative
a
to,
contender, yeah.
or what's the point of, like, like the stuff around like Gaza and Israel, like the Labour Party is so weak
Oh, I
on
know, I
that.
know. And also, I think we talked about it on the pod as well. Like when Starmer invited Dump, he gave him that. Can you see that fly buzzing around my head there?
No.
When Starmer um, invited Dump for the second state visit, I was so annoyed. But I was like, well, I understand why he's doing this. I don't think Starmer likes Trump. I think Starmer probably thinks Dump Dump is a piece of shit, But but I get why he did it. I get why he did it from a financial, from a trade, and from a commerce point of view. I understand why he's trying to court Dump and stroke his ego. But
Yeah.
this and on a if I take the emotion out of it, I understand why he's done this speech about immigration, to try and win back some of those votes from Reform voters. But I don't think this is the way to do it. I don't,
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm feeling slightly smug about my decision to try and relocate back to Australia because the more progressive party was just re-elected, but not only just re-elected, but re-elected in quite a big landslide.
Hmm.
And the very sort of far leaning to the right candidates and party, lost. But sadly, the Green Party once again down there, which do have more clout in Australia, they were completely wiped out. Like they
Oh,
lost
really?
their only seat.
I wonder. I mean, I don't really have my sort of finger on the pulse of Australian politics much these days. But I wonder if maybe they've gone a similar route to the UK Green Party, and are just like Zach says, they're kind of missing the boat here on what the future of politics looks like. That it's Green Party voters vote with their beliefs and their ethics, but
Hmm.
maybe the Green Party needs to evolve and be more in line with modern politics and populism, and play to that crowd more. And so maybe the
Yeah.
Australian Green Party's done that. But um, I was going to say something, but it's the thought's gone.
When's the
Uh,
next general election in the UK?
it won't be until where are we now? 2020, 2028? No, 2020, 2028, I think, or 29 even. Um,
Yeah, I've struggled to see how I could vote for Labour. I mean, obviously, if I was given two choices, the Conservatives or Labour, I would vote for Labour.
hmm,
But when I list all of the things like I just listed, like the stance on transcare, their stance on Israel, the stance on immigration, the
hmm,
stance on privatization of the healthcare system, why would I vote for them? Like, what are
yeah.
they doing for me, or what I consider to be in the best interest of our society? What are they doing for that?
Would
Nothing.
Would you ever go into politics?
I think I would, but maybe I'm getting a little too old, right? What do you
Not
think?
necessarily. No. I mean, you're only early 50s, aren't you? So,
Yeah, I just turned 51.
hmm.
So, what about you? Would you go into politics?
I don't think I've got the patience for it. I think I get so frustrated. Um, I think I've got the moral framework for it. I don't know. You can tell me. Maybe I don't. But I like to think I've got sort of considered ideas about society, community, country, planet, environment, things. But I just don't think I've got the patience for it. I get incredibly frustrated with opposing points of view. Um, so I think you need to have a bit more diplomacy and a bit more patience than I maybe have to go into politics.
I think I'd do well if everything swung towards that sort of populist route. I think I'd be okay at putting myself forward as a personality for
Yeah,
that
but
sort of thing.
would you be comfortable though? I don't know if you would be comfortable saying, catchy one line false promises just because you know it will get votes, even if you have no
But I wouldn't
intention
say
of.
false promises. I don't
Well,
think populism has to mean you're lying. I think it just means you use very cloying, attention grabbing slogans and themes to get your
hmm,
message across. I don't think, like when Keir Starmer says, take back control, I don't think he's lying about what they're going to do because they're going to do whatever it takes to stay in power, even if it means be racist to immigrants. Like they're going to do it.
hmm,
So I don't think it's lying, but it's about the intention about behind what you say. So
hmm,
yeah, I could say like, yeah, open the borders, like, or whatever it was, like whatever the I felt aligned with my belief system. But what I would struggle with is the pageantry of it all and the performance of having to, swear allegiance to the king or
hmm.
uh,
God, yeah, yeah.
all
See,
that
I couldn't,
business.
I couldn't get on board
Absolutely
with
no
that.
way.
I mean, the other thing, that the idea of having one leader is so problematic to me anyway. And I think the Green Party, in some ways, have tried to address that. So for the last, I don't know how many years now, they've had two leaders, they've had two co leaders rather than just have one leader of the party. And I think that's a step in the right direction, but I don't think it goes far enough. I don't think we should have one leader of any nation. I think the leadership of any nation should be made up of at least probably five leaders who are, elected in. I mean, I don't know, I haven't studied politics, so I don't know what sort of system, but some kind of democratic system where people do feel that their rights and their voice is has more chance of getting heard, because if you have five people elected, you've still got an odd number so that they could still vote when it comes to like very serious policy decisions and still have a majority. But you're not putting all your, to use a non-vegan expression, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You're spreading. It's more democratic to me than
But
having
I
one
think
leader.
we've maybe, as a society, gone too far down the road of the cult of personality, and that people think there has to be one person who's the celebrated celebrity who is held up
Yeah.
to be the savior, the leader, with like
Well,
Dump and
yeah. I think there are a lot of. I mean, I've not even looked at this, so I'm the furthest from an expert you could get to talk about it. But I think there are a lot of psychologists who talk, and social scientists who talk a lot about the need or the propensity for humans to defer to a leader.
yeah,
Most things in society are very hierarchical, very patriarchal as well, and so we. I don't know whether it's conditioned or whether it's sort of built into a lot of. If you look at the animal kingdom, there are lots of species of animal which do the same. They have a sort of a
yeah.
leader. They defer. They bow their heads. They have that sort of almost built into their DNA. So I don't know if it's that. But yeah, I think you're right. I can't, other than an actual all-out revolution, I don't know that we would ever move away from having just one elected
And
president,
and
prime minister, whatever.
and remember, I think we talked about it on the pod many months ago. We were talking about the If Books Could Kill, the podcast.
Hmm.
And Peter on that spoke about the studies that have been done into why people vote certain ways.
Hmm.
And
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
it's not that people hold these views. Like, people aren't as racist as you would think they would be, or anti-immigrant as you think they would be. They align their beliefs with the person that they like, their personality.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's why you end up with people like Dump or Boris Johnson or whoever.
Hmm.
People see themselves in them. They
Hmm.
see a personality that they like or that appeals to them,
Hmm.
and then they align themselves with the talking points that that person's
Yeah,
putting out there.
yeah.
So they're voting for the person like 99% of the time. They're not voting for the policies.
Sorry,
And
can I just stop you? It's just to point out the fly. It's on my bamboo screen behind me. Can you see it?
yeah, and what would you like me to do about that
Nothing.
information?
I just
Oh my
wanted to stop
god.
you mid flow to point it
The
out.
this is this the ADHD
Yeah, this is like a physical manifestation of my ADHD, like my inability to follow a conversation. Because
so if you've got, somebody like Keir Starmer, who is boring, who looks like bureaucratic, who looks middle class, who looks not very exciting or fun. You wouldn't want to go down the pub and have a drink with him.
yeah,
But then you've got someone like, I don't know, Nigel Farage, who is a buffoon, who seems less threatening to people. He doesn't seem like an intellectual. He doesn't seem
yeah,
like he would think he's better than you from an intellectual standpoint. Like,
hmm,
he just looks more accessible. So you are trained, we're socialized into seeing that person as the more appealing, and
hmm,
then to justify why we would vote for them, our brains start to align our thought processes and what we agree
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
they're saying.
Yeah, that was really interesting, that episode of If Books Could Kill, where they spoke about that, and it just made me think of so many things. Especially a couple of episodes ago we were talking about the trans situation in the UK particularly, and how politicians are just using trans communities as political footballs, and I think most people 5 years ago. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that not most people. I think a lot of people who 5 years ago wouldn't have had much of an opinion one way or the other
No,
about trans people. Probably
no,
just would have thought it's nothing to do with me. It doesn't have any role in my life. Have now suddenly, because of what politicians are doing,
yeah.
are suddenly coming up with all this transphobic shit. And
Well, on the most watched soap opera in the country, Coronation Street, there
yeah,
was a
yeah,
trans character for decades.
yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
one of the most loved soap opera characters or telenovela characters in UK history was the character was not played by a trans person, but the
mm,
character was a trans woman. And it, like, it's hard to explain to people outside the UK how much shows like Coronation Street or EastEnders normalize things for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was so normal. Was it Haley, the character's name?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch it, but
Was a part of this show is on every day of the week or 5 nights a week, or it's it was so normalized. And they, these soap operas did similar things with characters with HIV, or
mm-hmm.
like it decades ago, like normalizing interracial relationships.
Yeah.
And they played a really big part in the progressive nature of the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got all of that work that's been done and all of that normalization of difference being like sort of shredded before our eyes by people like Nigel Farage and now Keir Starmer. And maybe it needs to be somebody like Zach Polanski. Jeremy Corbyn was going to be that, but through the Labour Party, but then he got ousted. And
it needs a complete shake up and overhaul, but I don't know how it happens when we're this far down, this deeply embedded into the system. I don't know how that happens, but
like if I went into politics, I would have to be that end of the spectrum for me to be able to commit to it wholeheartedly. I would have to be that extreme left-wing populist version of it. I would have to be like a circus clown who went over the top and was completely like anti-racist,
but could back it up with actual decent policy. It wouldn't just be it wouldn't be clickbait headline stuff. You would actually
like, well, I wouldn't be ashamed to go on TV and make fun of Keir Starmer. Like, I would. Do you know what Dump does really well is
he
humanizes
taps in so well into what people think but maybe don't want to say, and that's a horrible thought to have, but he does it, and that's why he's popular.
But not only that, it's not. I don't think people want to say these things. I think people admire his charisma, so they like him, and they like the way that he doesn't give a fuck, and they like the way that he just thinks without thinking. Sorry, speaks without thinking, thinks without speaking, and they see that as admirable trait to have. So then they align themselves with the policies he's trying to say, because he could come out and say, "Oh, well, he does. Like, oh, we're going to have tariffs on everything." His supporters will say, "Oh, we're 100% for tariffs." The next day, he will say, "I've changed my mind. We're not having tariffs." And people will say, "Oh, yeah, see the art of the deal. He knows what he's doing. We were against tariffs as well."
And also, like, the tariffs probably are going to hurt the majority of people that voted for him anyway. But they don't think about that. They don't care about that. They just go along with whatever he says because they like his personality.
Yeah, it's about aligning with the personality, not with actually. They don't care what he's going to say. They don't care. And I think, like, I'd be happy to be that. Like, I would make that sacrifice if it meant that it was protecting vulnerable people and doing better for the world. I would do that. I would go out there. I mean, I kind of do it on a minuscule version of that, like as Fat Gay Vegan. Like, I go out and I make myself a public spectacle of myself online. I say outrageous things on my blog, or I have in the past, to try and, do like fight oppression against animals, or for other social justice causes. Like, I think that I have done that in a microscopic version of what we're talking about. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think it would be difficult, and I think that it would very taxing emotionally on you. You would probably like have to give yourself over to it 1,000% and never do anything else. But I think it would be a worthwhile form of activism to do that. If somebody wanted to stand up, like what Zach is trying to do, and say, "Hey, I don't care what you say about me, what you do, how much you tear me to shreds. This is my life now. This is what I'm going to do." Yeah, I'd be up for that, but I don't know how that would ever happen.
Well, you read it here first. Can we change topic briefly?
Yes.
From you talked about veganism, and this ties in slightly with that, but given the fly that's buzzing around my head for this episode. I just wanted to talk to you about bees, about this kind of, I don't know, this is not a well thought through argument or idea, but it's
Well,
just
it
something
definitely
that's
belongs on this podcast then.
exactly, yeah, it's exactly it's on brand for us. So I've been getting a bit frustrated over the last few years with this sort of fetishization of bees, and how people. I mean, you go into like, I don't know. I mean, I don't really go into like Primark or anything like that, but you might just go into like some tacky homemade shop, and there will be like, so bee branded stuff, and people are all about like, oh, we've got to save the bees. The bees, they're so important. Bees this, bees that.
Bees this, bees that.
Bees fucking, Anyway, obviously, I want the bees to be okay. I'm not
You're
saying
not
that
anti-bee.
I'm not anti-bee, obviously, but I think I should just state that for the record. But it's just so annoying to me that people fetishize one animal because they've been told to, because because there are campaigns to save the bees and stuff, and it's just like, it's so self-serving. And it's so hypocritical of all these people who eat honey, then say we've got to save the bees. Well, you're only saying that because you're getting something from them. You're only saying that because you've been told that, bee populations are in decline and they're so important for pollination of so many of our crops, our food crops. But if you really fucking cared about bees, why would you still eat honey? Like, if populations are in decline, where do you think honey comes from? Like, it's produced by bees to feed to their young, and populations are in decline. Well, how about you just stop eating fucking honey then? Like, it just. So this is a perfect example of why I
Uh-huh.
couldn't go into politics, because I was just like, I've got no patience for this bullshit.
Okay, well, I'm going to do the populist line on
Okay,
this.
you do the populist. I'll be the fucking
So,
grumpy bastard in the corner.
I understand your feelings around this because it does seem to be a bit hypocritical to say that you care about one
More than a
life
bit.
form,
Mm-hmm.
but then to either still consume it or not to pay attention to other animals or insects that are being harmed. But the truth is that the bee emergency is going to impact all of us, whether we're vegan or not, very rapidly and very quickly in the near future. And so if we don't have a concerted effort where everybody joins together to protect the bees, it won't matter if you're vegan or not vegan in 10, 15 years' time. You will have no food to eat. The cows that you want to eat won't have food to eat. So it is the is it a linchpin? I don't like that term. That sounds racist. Linchpin.
Linchpin, yeah,
That sounds
does,
racist
yeah.
to me. It is that cog that's holding the whole machine together are pollinators. So whether that's bees or other insects,
Well, exactly, and that's it. Bees are not the only pollinators out
that's
there,
right.
and
So there's an opportunity for more education to be done that it's not just bees, but bees are cute, aren't they? So when you go somewhere like Kew and you go into the kids shop, there's like stuffed toys in the shape of
yeah,
bees.
but
There's
that's
bees
it. They're
toilet.
only cute because we've been socialized into thinking about them that way.
Well, same thing as with dogs and cats. Why do people love dogs and cats and let them sleep on their faces on the bed when people let their dogs get in bed with them and stuff? So
Yeah,
why it's because what we've been socialized into thinking is cute or acceptable. And why are people not feel the same way about, I don't know, foxes or cows or
just the
but
whole speciesism of it is so confounding to me.
yeah.
Because I've even seen, like, I don't know if I've ever seen one in real life, but I see them advertised online. Bee rescue kits, and they're like a little necklace that people can wear. And inside is like a tiny, you unscrew it, and there's a little vial, and it's got a thing of water and some sugar or something, I think, so that, if you come across a bumblebee that is in distress, you can give it a drink. And I'm like, one part of me is like, yeah, great. Any animal in distress, you should do what you can to help, right? But
Yeah.
it's so selective, and it's like, so you could literally, eat cows, chickens, whatever for breakfast, eat fish for lunch, and then save a bee. it does my head
Well,
in.
I saw a video online yesterday of a dog that fell into a canal,
Oh
and
yeah.
all these people came and were trying to help the human who was with the dog get the dog out, and then a boat had to come. It was maybe in Paris, and a boat had to come, and somebody climbed down a ladder, and then there was this big round of applause when this poor shivering little dog was pulled out. And
Oh.
then I thought to myself, all of those people probably went their separate ways and went and had a ham sandwich for lunch, or
Oh yeah.
like brie on a baguette, or and what do people eat in Paris? A croissant, a
Croque monsieur, croque madame.
pain au chocolat, and that the disconnect of all of those people banding together to save that one animal, but then going and
Yeah.
eating animals that had been mistreated and killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't, as activists or people who care about the planet or the well-being of creatures, we can't tell people they do all or nothing. Like we will get nothing done. And it's the same with politics. Like if we say to people, we only want people fighting for trans rights who agree with us 100% on every other issue,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't ever have trans rights. If we want people to fight for free hospital care, but they also have to align with everything else we believe in, we would never have free hospitals again. And that's what's happening with politics. If politicians know that they can divide people,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're splitting us up into these segmented parts of society, and then they're attacking our institutions and our well-being. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need to, it's like when the queers and the miners got together in the 80s. We need to form alliances with other working class people or at-risk people, and we need to fight for things. And so yeah, we might have to go with the pro-B brigade now and then, and stand in solidarity for bee safety with them. But that doesn't stop us from then raising our voices about other forms of oppression as
Mm.
well. We have to do it all, and we have to lead by example.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't disagree with that, but it just still frustrates the hell out of me that people are, all about the fucking bees. And yes, we need food to survive, but how about we think about stopping having so many fucking children or something? Like we've got far too many people on this planet to start
Well,
with.
the bee thing, what's more annoying about the bee thing is it is very much a middle class
Yeah.
fight. For some reason, the middle class have taken it up. You
Mm.
get a lot of that in uh, that sort of activism, that Subaru driving, Guardian reading, tofu eating, wokarati, or whatever that. You get a lot of these causes that for some reason have been taken up by the middle classes or the upper middle classes as the most important thing that they should do. And
Hmm.
for some reason, bees have become that. And you get people who will go and build a beehive in their back garden in Ealing, but then they don't make the broader connection to the well-being of the planet by their other choices. So they'll go on holiday abroad 5 times a year, or they will buy leather jackets and they'll buy
Oh, and they'll
sheepskin
be
rugs.
eating honey every day of the year
Yeah,
as well. Like
yeah, or to
it's
take
just
it away from bees, they'll be eating like wild salmon, or they'll be eating caviar, or they'll be eating ham, or their shampoo is tested on bunny rabbits in China, or
yeah,
whatever it is. Like
yeah.
people aren't able to they have this compartmentalized concept.
It's
But what
cognitive dissonance, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
what I think is it's important to celebrate these causes, but they're also important inroads for us to talk about other things. So
yeah.
when like say the queers joined up, when the gays, lesbians and gays joined up with the miners, they were able to say, hey, we're fighting for your rights as working class people,
Hmm.
but here, let us also educate you about queer phobia and how we've been isolated often within the communities that we're trying to help. And so we can use those ways to do more and to build connections within across oppressed groups. And
Hmm.
we can use that bee platform and all the sexy allure of bees
Sexy
to
allure bees.
to do other things for the planet as well.
It just Sorry, I know I'm just going on and
Have you
on
got a
about it.
bee in your bonnet,
I've got a
Sue?
fucking hive in my bonnet. It just annoys me so much that it's like, oh, we've got to save the bees, we've got to save the bees. And yet honey consumption is going up and up and up. Like you look at the statistics and year on year, honey consumption globally is just on the increase. And so like bee populations are going that way, honey consumption's going that way. And I'm like, can no one make the fucking connection here? Like
Well,
I'm not a fucking biologist, but surely if we keep taking honey from bees and populations keep declining and we keep crapping on about having to save the bees, it's just fucking bullshit. And
but
it really grinds my gears.
but it's not just the people taking the honey. It's about land clearance. It's about loss of wildflower spaces. It's about
Yeah,
loss of
it's about all of
wildlife
those things, but that's what
corridors.
I'm saying. But for a lot of people, it's not. A lot of people just get on board with this just nonsense rhetoric,
Yep. But
nonsense discourse about fucking honeybees.
it feels something manageable that you can contribute to. It's like telling people to recycle. I mean, if we were probably going to be honest about it, what you do with your fucking Tetra packs is not saving the planet,
I know.
but it can make you feel better about something that feels insurmountable or hopeless. And the same with the bees. If you tell some kids, hey, in 20 years there are going to be no crops and the Sahara is going to encroach on mainland Europe,
Hmm.
you would all just give up, right?
But
You've got to have these little things that make us feel that there is a tangible difference we can make.
but we're not making a difference, is my point.
No,
If why is the messaging not stop eating honey? Why is that not the messaging? Because that is to me the most obvious way to stop bee populations being exploited and to stop bee populations declining. Is to why is the messaging not about how can you have um, products? I mean, I don't know what the website would be, but there would be products online like fucking bshop.co.uk or something. There would be products,
bee mania.
yeah, where it would all be about this messaging and this fetishization about the bee, but they would be selling things like honey. They would be
Yeah.
selling things like beeswax candles. So, and it's like, how has the messaging gotten so far down this path without ever confronting the stark reality of the need to stop consuming honey if we really cared about bees? It's just,
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
sorry to
it's the
rant.
same. It's the same as people's obsession with free range chickens and
Yeah,
free
yeah,
range eggs, and it's like, well, yeah, there's an easier solution. Don't eat the fucking eggs. Like, leave
yeah,
animals alone. But
yeah.
people have privilege and power that they don't want to give up. People
Hmm.
have, or we become conditioned to believe that certain things are our inalienable rights as humans, and
Yeah,
meat, dairy, eggs, honey, leather shoes, all those things are part of that. And
yeah.
yeah, people don't want to sacrifice. So yeah,
Um, all right. I'm sorry for ranting, and thank you for your political, um, what's the word? Uh, balance? No, not balance. Equilibrium. Um,
which means
with
balance.
well, yeah, sounds a bit fancier than balance. Um, what I was going to say is
What's that?
let's.
Equilibrium? B?
I'm not
No.
sure. I think that might be right. Um, But while we've just got a few minutes left on the podcast and talking about saving animals, I just thought we could talk about the news. It's kind of old news now. It's probably a month ago that I read this, but I heard, I don't know if you've heard, I'm not sure if we've discussed it, but I heard that Alicia Silverstone has confirmed that Clueless will be coming back as a TV series. And I was very, very excited to
Wasn't it
read
already a
that.
TV
It
series?
was back in the 90s. They did, like, obviously the film was out, and then they brought out a TV series with a lot of the original cast
Yeah.
except Alicia Silverstone. And anyway, I was very excited to hear that Alicia Silverstone's going to be back playing her role. Um, and
Yeah.
I think Amber, is that her name? I can't remember the actor's name, but the character
Yeah.
Amber, I think she's also back on board. I don't know, because what was the name of the woman who played Dion?
Stacey Dash.
Stacey Dash. Didn't she go all like really extreme right wing?
Oh yeah, like
Um,
and Donald Faison, who was in Scrubs.
yeah. What?
Um,
He hasn't gone right wing, has he?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, I was going to
And
say,
Alyssa Donovan was
was
who-
was that Amber?
maybe that was Amber, but what's her name? Um, died, passed away.
Oh, Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but she
Um,
wasn't in the TV show either, was she?
no.
So I'm
No.
looking at the cast of people who were in the TV series,
What, the new
and yes,
TV series?
no, the old one in the
Oh,
90,
right.
in
Okay.
'96, and like Stacey Dash, Donald Faison, Alyssa
Hmm.
Donovan. A lot of the same people were in it,
Mm.
but
Well, I was very. I mean, I love Alicia. I love Clueless, and I love the role of Cher in that.
yeah,
Such an iconic film, an iconic character. But I love Alicia Silverstone because she's just been such a vocal advocate for animals and for veganism over the years.
and what does she say about the bees, Sue?
I don't know actually. If you're watching, Alicia, which I doubt you are, let us know what your thoughts are on bees. I'm sure Alicia would probably agree that we don't need to stop eating honey. But she may say it in a more
Does she
diplomatic way
pronounce
than
her
I
name
do.
Alicia?
Oh, I don't know. Alicia?
I
I
don't think
don't.
it's Alicia.
No, I'm
Um,
just doing it the English way,
I
Alicia.
think she has a real Valley Girl way of saying her name.
Yeah. But I love Alicia or Alicia, however she pronounces her name. She's such an advocate for animals. So that's exciting news on two counts.
But
Um,
when is this coming out?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I thought maybe you were doing a little bit of live research.
Well, I'm trying to look now, but I can't see anything about it.
Yeah.
Alicia.
Alicia Alicia.
Like
Alicia.
UH. Like
Alicia.
phonetically, like UH, and then ally, and then SEE. Alicia.
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 Alicia Silverstone.
Alicia.
Yeah.
With the, I think with the emphasis on the ally. Alicia. Yeah.
On the allyship for animals.
Yeah, for bees.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, that was. I was trying to bring it to a less ranty, more positive end to the episode, especially given
What's your favorite Alicia Silverstone movie? Clueless?
Probably. Yeah.
Was she in one of those Batman movies, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She played Batgirl or
Batman and
whatever she
Robin, was it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. What about you? I mean, how
Clueless.
could you not pick Cher Horowitz? Was that her name? Cher Horowitz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only that's the only movie that I can really think that I loved her in. I can't think of anything else that it says she got divorced in 2018.
Okay. Who was she married to?
Somebody called Christopher Jarecki.
Okay.
When you search for her on Google, one of the suggested questions that people search for: does Alicia Silverstone still take baths with her son?
Still take baths with her son?
Her son. Why did Alicia Silverstone quit acting? Did Brittany Murphy and Alicia Silverstone get along? And how old was Alicia Silverstone when she made Clueless?
Okay.
But yeah, she's got her son. Is his name Bear? Is that his name?
I don't
and there was like she used to get a lot of flack in the press about her parenting style and her attachment style of parenting. And
okay.
She's had some cookbooks as well, like some vegan cookbooks.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember the TV show she was in for about a hot second called Mismatch?
No. Jog my memory, maybe.
I don't know. It was like it was on mainstream TV, and she, I think there were only like 20 episodes or something.
Was it a scripted show, like a
Yeah, it
comedy,
was
a
like
drama? Or...
Yeah, it was like a comedy made by Darren Star. Who made what did he make? Melrose Place,
Beverly Hills. Did he do 90210? Darren
No,
Star?
I don't think he's that old, was he?
Oh yeah, no, but Melrose, yeah,
And Darren Star did he do Sex in the City? Is that him?
yeah, I think it was, yeah, yeah. Mismatch. No, I don't think I ever watched that.
And it was she was a matrimonial attorney who doubled as a high-end matchmaker, even though her own love life is far from perfect. Sounds
Sounds
so
sounds really good.
horrible.
Well, anyway, bring on the Cher reboot.
Was she going to be in it then?
Alicia,
Yeah,
yes,
but doing
yeah,
what? Like,
playing adult Cher Horowitz, I assume.
I don't know. There's a time and a place, and I'm not sure
I
that's really.
I feel like knowing Alicia, what I know of her, being a close personal friend of Alicia,
Yeah.
even though I've been mispronouncing her name, I
Hmm.
would imagine she would probably try and work in some sort of like veganism. So in obviously in Clueless, um, I don't know. I would, because at the end of Clueless, she was doing the what was the plot line in Clueless? Like the oil spill. She was raising money for the
Yeah, but I don't
animals that
think
were.
she was vegan back then.
No, but what I'm saying is now that she's been such an advocate and such an outspoken vegan over the years, I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to work that into the TV reboot. Like Cher Horowitz will be a
Wasn't she
like
in
an
some
animal
like
rights lawyer.
D-grade movie a few years ago where she played a vegan vampire?
Possibly.
See, I
But
need to know
that
about that.
see this backs up my argument that the Clueless reboot will feature Cher being a vegan advocate. But anyway, we'll see. Heroes often disappoint, don't they?
All right. Well, I'm excited now more about the vampire thing that I've just remembered, so I'm going to go look that up.
All right. Um, all right. Well, thanks for joining us again for a very circuitous, um, rambling, ranty episode.
It's just
Uh,
chaos. It's
let
just
us
basic chaos.
Total chaos. Let us know your thoughts on any of the subjects we've talked about today, or anything else really, in the
Oh, and
comments.
please, yeah, vote below. Should I go into politics as my next career move? Leave
Okay.
comments below. Who would vote
Okay.
for me?
And if you really care about bees, don't eat honey. That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, you might need a different approach to getting your message across if you want to win hearts and minds.
Well, I'm not going into politics. Um, in the meantime, you can find out what we're up to if you look in the show notes. You can find me on socials or on Spotify at Josh and the Jumpstarts. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I'm Fat Gay Vegan. So you can go to fatgayvegan.com. You can follow me on Instagram. You can support the work that I do with charity through maidenhackney.org. Come and do a cooking class with us in London, a vegan cooking class. No bees were harmed for any of our classes.
No honey used.
No.
All right. But we'll be back here in your feeds next week. Until then, take care and save the bees.
Behave.